Hello everybody and welcome back to my sewing room. If you're new, my name's Diane and I like to share with you the stories of the quilts that I make. Now this week is a little bit different because I haven't got a quilt finished, because we did manage to get away for a few days. We went to the Isle of Wight, which is a small island on the south coast of England. And it was a really chilled week. We just stayed in a lovely family run hotel, very informal, and we did lots of walks and just chilled out basically. But while I was there, I managed to buy one of these, a bar of nougat or nugget. Now the quilt I made last week I called the nugget quilt. And it was quite divisive how to pronounce it, whether it's nougat or nugget. Apparently, if you are from the UK, if you're a Brit, we pronounce it nugget. And if you're elsewhere, it was nougat. But it doesn't really matter, does it? That's the sweet or the candy bar. And I bought it from an old-fashioned sweet shop on the seafront while we were around and about. So last week was the nougat quilt, nugget quilt, and this week I'd like to share with you a fabric haul. Now all of the fabric that I'm going to show you now is from Rainbow Fabrics, which is a dead stock company here in the UK. It does ship globally and it's very, very reasonable. And I think I was quite late to the game of buying dead stock, but and the reason was because you can't handle it, can you? If you're buying fabric online and you don't know very much about the designer or the house where the fabric is produced, you're never quite sure of the quality. So I think that's what sort of kept me back a little bit. But I saw that there were some Robert Kaufman in this dead stock company, Rainbow Fabrics, and so I started to buy some of those, samples of those, and then I tried some other fabric. So it's from Joanne, so in America and Canada. I think you're very familiar with Joann's, and so the fabric quality was okay, so I'm quite happy with that. But before I share the fabric haul, I'll just give you a little few details. So in the UK, we buy in meters. So a meter is 39.32 inches, whereas a yard is 36. So it's just over 3 inches more that you get. And in total, I bought 27 meters of different fabrics. And the total cost is £132.63, which is 178 US dollars. So it works out that it was less than £5 a metre or 6.70 US dollars, which is quite cheap in the UK. Fabric here is very, very expensive. And so I've paid probably overall less than half price for each of these that I've bought from Rainbow Fabrics. So now I'll show you the fabric haul. quite a lot of fabric there, and as you can see I finished on some Christmas fabric. Now last year I did participate in Christmas in July and I made a quilt then, and I really enjoyed that process. Everything this year is a little bit altered. Circumstances has made sewing different for me this year, and I'm not quite as organised as I was in previous years, but I would quite like to do the Christmas in July quilt, and I really like that little Robert Kaufman Christmas fabric. I'll need to buy some other fabrics to go with that. But while we were away, we came across a little Christmas shop on one of the high streets in Shanklin, and on the Isle of Wight. And it was a lovely little shop. It seemed so strange. It was warm and sunny outside, you know, June, and then inside all Christmas carols were playing and everywhere were bedecked with trimmings. And I did buy a couple of things. So I bought a little memento, a little Isle of Wight bauble. So I'll pop that on my Christmas tree this year. And a little, I couldn't resist him, a little flying Santa. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I hope you enjoyed those little snippets of Christmas in June. I haven't even got to July yet. So I'm thinking maybe that I will do a Christmas quilt. So I've changed my way of working in recent months. I used to be a monogamous quilter. I used to start one, buy the fabric just for that quilt, make it from start to finish, process all the pieces, and then I would move on to another one. Now I have a number of projects on the go. I'm working around 6 and I'm finding that quite comfortable. Quite a few commented about how many that you're working on at the moment. Someone, I shan't name names, Patricia, she has 20 projects on the go, and I think, wow, I'm not sure, I think that's a little bit too much for me, but it's strange how your mindset alters, because people have commented that if they have blocks that they're working on, and you can have, you know, practically a whole quilt of blocks, but if you keep working on blocks and you have them in a particular place, your mind doesn't trip to finish, because it's not a flimsy. It's when you put all those blocks together and you have a completed flimsy or quilt top, that's when the sort of the mind starts playing tricks on us and says, you know, you need to get this finished. So I don't want to ever be somebody that has lots and lots of quilt flimsies waiting for the quilting, because, you know, that's a lot of hard work, isn't it, quilting. On the board at the back there is one there. I have pieced the backing for that, and I have made the flimsy for that. I haven't got any batting or wadding at the moment. That's another thing I wanted to share with you. Quite a few people said don't buy the pieces of batting or wadding, to buy it on a roll, and I have looked into that. There's one I'm looking at the moment, but it's out of stock. I don't have a lot of space in my sewing room to store big rolls, but I noticed that there was one that sold 7.5 meters on a roll, which seemed really good value, 90 inches wide and 7.5 meters, and they do bigger rolls, 15. So, and I thought I might try that first, to have a look at the quality of it and see what I think, and storage, whether I can fit that in, or whether it would drive me mad if I keep falling over, it keeps falling over. But like I say, I am watching one at the moment, waiting for the stock to come back in. If you're in the UK and you do buy wadding or batting on the roll, and you can want to share, I mean, you might not want to share, you might want to keep it a secret because it does seem to be quite difficult. But if you did want to share, I think the one I'm looking at is, I think it's Morris, something like that. Anyway, I've got it in a basket waiting for stock to be replenished. And so that's it for this week. Like I say, next week I'll show you the log cabin. So I hope you've enjoyed this little fabric haul, and I will see you again next week. So thank you very much for your company. Take really good care of yourselves, enjoy your sewing, and thanks for watching. Bye.